I didn't go vegan for the animals. I went vegan because I was desperate to not be fat anymore. Hello, and happy Monday to you. Welcome to the Spencer Mark podcast, where we help men through change, see them through, make changes that stick. And today I'm going to be sharing a little bit of my story about my decision that I've come through after 14 years. It's very interesting to see how far I've come through my progression of trying not to be fat, which is the diet, which is my exercise, all of those different types of things. And it's about a decision I made some time ago. And so it was a decision to cut out all meat, going vegan. Because I thought that, all vegans were skinny and veganism was like a cheat code. You cut out the meat, you get lean, you get love, right? Bam. Well, I stayed vegan for 14 years and I stayed fat. So overall, I want to discuss this a little bit here too, and just kind of show you why I did these things, because I really felt like it was being a bigger person, essentially like as a fat person. I'm just going to put it the way it is. And I hold that term with so much compassion for myself at that time. I associated this idea of being thin with acceptance, being accepted, being popular. When I was a child, I just always often thought of myself as more of a muscle guy. I wanted to be big and strong. I didn't want to be obese. I didn't even know what that term obese was back in the day, but I just felt like whenever I was unhappy, it was due to my being bigger, my being fatter. And if I were skinnier, I wouldn't have the problems like I see these skinny guys running around with all this energy. So when I was a small child, all the way up through, God dang, I was into my 40s, man. It's this on and on again, off again sort of thing. So it was in Japan in 2010. We were scheduled for this. There was a tsunami coming. Well, not a tsunami. What do they call those? Like it's a big rainstorm. A typhoon. Typhoon was coming to our little area there, and so we had to like hunker down for the night. So we rented this video. Got a video we had to rent about. It was called Plant-Based Eating Third Edition. And we watched this documentary on veganism, and it started to make a whole lot of sense. Is that I think I want to give this a try, because eating all this meat, that was the reason for heart disease. It was a reason for being unhealthy. That was the reason for being fat. So it wasn't for the planet. It wasn't for the animals. It was for me not wanting to be fat. I thought if I just cut out meat, I could eat more of other things, and I could just watch the weight fall off. So that's how it started. And the very next day was Thanksgiving. I told people, hey, I quit eating turkey on Thanksgiving. Well, I quit eating meat cold turkey on Thanksgiving. Now, there's a joke there somewhere. But, I found myself thinking that if I could just cut this out, that I can get control of my food. The whole idea is that if I could just cut out meat, I could eat more of something else, because the idea of eating less was very painful to me. I couldn't do it. I didn't understand why. I'm going to get to that here in just a bit, of why I needed to eat more food. But through the years, I found myself, for 14 years, I stuck with being vegan. And I was still stuck in a body that I really hated. I didn't like my body. I was still binge eating because I was unhappy. And I found myself eating sleeves after sleeves of Oreos, because, again, Oreos are vegan, right? I found myself eating a lot of vegan processed foods. I was under the spell of thinking like, well, if this says plant-based or if this says vegan on it, whether that's chicken nuggets or, these impossible burgers, it's healthy for you. So I can eat more of it because I'm not eating meat. I'm not eating cheese or dairy because that stuff will get you fat. Over time, this whole idea turned into a kind of a cult. I did basically get inside of a cult. And I kept thinking, like, why am I still fat? I'm doing all the right things. I watched all the documentaries. I'm doing what all of these smart doctors have said that I should do. Why am I still fat? And you just get caught in this repeated pattern over and over and over. So if you're trying all the healthy things and you still feel like you're trapped inside of your body, you're not alone. And what you need isn't more rules, it's this accountability. You need someone who sees the real reason behind you eating, like I have. So let's just kind of get into this next piece here too. Just food really wasn't a fuel for me. Okay. Food was my escape plan. Like it was something I needed to do to feel comfort, and I just fell into that pattern. I didn't eat to live, I ate to disappear. So food soothed my stress inside of the body, stress I didn't know that I had or even know what to do with. I didn't know how to process. Growing up was a very stressful time. Um, there was a lot of expectations on me. My dad and I didn't get along very much at all. And I just felt like inferior. And I was chewed out a lot. I was, brought down a lot. And the thing that helped me out of that was my mom, and usually with a hostess pie, a pastry. Yes, a delicious lemon hostess pie. That's what I used to dig on all the time. That and my mom would get me a mellow yellow. And it was typically after a wrestling practice when I was 6 years old. Like I'd get done with wrestling, I'd get done getting beat up on the mat over and over in that old smelly gym, that old gross staff-ridden like mat, and I'd come out all sweaty and red, wearing this singlet that's like tucked way up inside of my crotch, and I'm just like kind of choking. I'm wearing Chuck Taylors because I couldn't afford wrestling shoes. Anyway, it's a goofy picture. My mom would pick me up in the Monte Carlo, and she'd always have a hostess pie and a mellow yellow there. So whenever I was stressed, I hated wrestling. So when I was stressed, I would fall into this food. I'd fall into the pastries. After fights with dad, mom would help, make me feel better. She would make something inside the kitchen. I remember that my biggest survival loop, the thing that would take me out of a funk was donuts. Oh my God, donuts. Donuts were my jam, man. Like every morning the bus would drive by in where I grew up in Salmon, the bus would drive by right before the school. There was this donut shop there, and every morning they would just emanate this rich smell of the yeast and the sugar. And I would unroll the windows of the bus and just put my nose out there and just smell and breathe in freedom, because that's what it was. I was whisked away from my worries, and I fell into like this trance of pleasure. And it wasn't just a donut. I'm talking about a box of donuts. A box means more donuts, separate donuts that have different colors, different tastes and shapes. Ooh, I want to try this one. I want to try this one. I want to try this one. And the longer I could stay in that box, the longer I could stay soothed, the longer I could stay safe. Another thing for me too was pizza and donuts, Just if I could stay in this pizza forever, I would. Why does pizza and donuts have to make you fat? I don't get it. Like, I just want that. That's all I wanted in my life. For years, I thought that way. Since I was 6 years old, 8 years old, somewhere in there, just loving it. There were times in my life where I would skip school. And this was even into junior high, where I would say, hey, I have a doctor's appointment. Can I get out of class? I would get out of class, out of the junior high, and I would go to the convenience store where I would buy a box of Pop Tarts. I would buy those mini donuts, and I would just go on a walk in this neighborhood and just eat the entire box and eat all the donuts, and then go back go back to school. We still got crumbs all over my face. So these weren't just indulgences; these were my medicine. Pizza, Pop Tarts, donuts. My God. So what my nervous system was craving was but I was craving some safety. I wanted some silence. And these foods were options for me to get out of that. So even as a grown man, I was still letting this 8-year-old child run my food decisions whenever I would get stressed, because there's no coronation of you becoming a man. All of a sudden like all of a sudden, like, you are now a man, you will now stop all this childish nonsense, and then you will grow up and you'll eat steak. It's not like that. I kept growing up and I kept falling back on these old behaviors because they were entrenched when I was very young. So listen, if you've ever felt out of control about food, it doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you're surviving. So coaching with me helps bring that into light with compassion, not judgment. I understand you. I see you. Okay. Back to veganism as my cage. It's at first it felt like freedom to me, but eventually it felt like a cult. I alluded to this earlier. Again, I watched all the documentaries. I watched Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy and What the Health and the Plant Chompers and what is it? The other one, just a whole lot of plant videos. With all the smart doctors. And then I just felt like I was on a mission. I felt empowered, and that was a real thing. I wanted to be a force for change. I would talk to people about it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And I really wasn't resourced enough to not to allow these people to have their opinion. I became like a self-righteous vegan for a while too. It's like, well, if you're going to eat meat, you're just going to get cancer. And I guess you don't have any compassion whatsoever because you would rather eat a cow than eat kale, so to speak. And that was irrational of me. It was kind of dumb. It's not smart. So over time, my social life also tanked. And then I isolated myself. I mean, honestly, no one was going to invite the vegans over for a barbecue. Who the hell does that? We can put some, like, a black bean burger on the grill for you if you got anything, I guess. Do you have cheese? Oh, you don't have cheese either. Okay. No. What do we talk about? It was funny too. Like, people would actually apologize for having. I'm sorry, I'm eating meat right now. I can't do what you do. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. But in that, I just really didn't feel free. Underneath all of this sort of stuff, I just didn't feel free. I just really felt afraid. I was afraid of meat. I was afraid of cancer. I was afraid of judgment. And I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of so many different things. I mean, I was practicing veganism when I lived in Tokyo, when I lived in all throughout Germany, Europe, and when I lived in Germany. And you know how much I missed out on because of this? I was afraid of eating cheese in Italy. Like, I was in Italy and I didn't have a pizza, man. I didn't. That's a goddamn tragedy. I traveled to Spain and to Budapest and to Ireland and to India, like all these different places around the world. And I didn't take in the local fare. I was missing out. So the worst thing overall, the worst of it all, is that I was still fat, man. What was I doing? I was just gone. And it just turns out that kale just didn't heal my trauma. Right? So if your healthy lifestyle has become a prison, it's time to really break free. It's time to create a way of eating that feels nourishing to you and not punishing. and to connect you to your real life and not to food rules. Okay, so let's talk about this, the mirror. The mirror is scary. The mirror was real scary. Like every time I would get, you get into the shower, you look in the mirror and you look at yourself like, ugh, I can't look at myself. You get out of the shower like, oh, I gotta hurry and towel off. I can't look at myself. I'd avoid looking at myself after a shower. I hated what I saw, and worse, I hated, what I believed what I believed that meant about me. I thought I was some kind of loser. I was weak, pathetic, all the bad things. I just felt that I felt shame, and that shame kept me it's heavy, just weighed me down so much I couldn't stand up. I was sitting down all of the time. Should have saw how flat my ass got. My waist got much bigger, size 38 waist. And for those of you that have a weight problem, you know what it's like when you see the top part of your pants have a horizontal crease all the way around the waist. It's from that button being really tight and your belly flopping over the top part of your denim jeans, right? And you have this permanent fold horizontally across the waist of your pants. I had to wear a 38 size waist. It was very tight. And then I had to have that with a 38 waist. My legs had to be huge in order to fill them out, but they weren't. They were chicken legs. And so I had no butt. I had no legs. And I was just kind of propping my gut up. It was a very, very interesting sight, I should just say. So the bloated stomach and the man boobs, man. Side profile pictures for me, I couldn't do it. And again, I say these things with all the compassion in the world for myself at that time. I was doing the best I could. But I did not like what I saw. And it was just, I was on my way to change. I just didn't know it yet. But at that time, I just thought, if this is who I am, no one will ever love me. Not even the person who's with me at the time will ever love me. Because I don't love me. I just don't. And it's a feeling that I kept my entire life. So I avoided events. I skipped pictures. I really was out of pictures. I mean, all the pictures I'll share on my website and throughout my media campaigns. So these are pictures that I were able to like drudge up, but I never took a whole lot of pictures. I made myself invisible as much as possible. And then the issue with that was that I'd make myself invisible, but then I would grow resentful that no one would see me. You know what it's like to not be seen? Maybe you do. It sucks. It's not fun to not be seen. To be seen for something more than just your body. What about your sense of humor? What about your personality, the way you relate to other people, your other creative gifts and talents? You want to be seen for those things. But when I was fat, I did not want to be seen. I wanted to be invisible so I could stay tucked away in the dark and eating my box of donuts. Then I can be eating as much food as I wanted to eat, because when I ate food, I felt safe. I felt relaxed. I was safe in that. But through all of that sort of stuff, while I avoided events and pictures, I smiled all the way through it, and I just kept pretending that everything was fine. So I'm not here to shame you. I really want you to know that. I'm not here to shame you. I've lived that out. I'm here to hold space for you while you stop hiding from yourself. And that's what kind accountability looks like. Okay. So in all of this, like, it was very dark, and you got to find that person that helps pull you out of it. The mentor, the person that pulled me out of this was Adele. My partner, Adele. She helped me see the light. She helped me see the truth. She asked me, why are you still eating like this? And that was for the first time, I didn't have an answer as to why. Not really, because when I first said, because I'm hungry, she would ask, like, what's hungry? I watched you eat an entire pot of oatmeal. A pot as big as my head. Like 4,000 to 5,000 calorie pot of oatmeal. How the hell can you still be hungry? What's hungry? Because you're not hungry. What is it? And I had to pause and kind of think about that. And that was the start of my inner work. And that was her work as a somatic practitioner. She is a pro. She will help you get out of these funks. She will help you get out of your misunderstanding, your ignorance around food, around your behaviors, all of those things by tuning into the body. And that's what she helped me with. She helped me see that I really wasn't eating because I lacked willpower. I was using food to regulate my stress. And I was highly stressed at the time. I had two young, teenagers I was raising at the time, and my daughters, and it's a very stressful time, especially parents. Parents of teenagers should know that. Twin daughters was that was a stressful time for me, and I sunk myself into my food, and I ate fast. And I had to eat a whole lot. If you eat fast, you have to eat a whole lot of food to keep eating food. Like I said earlier, I had to keep eating in order to feel better. I wanted to feel better than what I was feeling. So I had to stay in the action of eating, because the thought of not eating or putting my fork down in between bites was painful. It was painful, man. So if I'm eating fast, right, I have to eat more so I could eat longer. I had to keep shoveling stuff in. I would not take a break. I would eat very fast. So what Adele has taught me is that she had taught me about, this is about my nervous system healing. And this is about how to stop letting my past hijack my plate. Because she helped me realize it was my 8-year-old still telling me to load up, to have those Pop-Tarts, to keep eating the pizza. It was her compassion that changed my life. It did. It was her setting an example of what it looked like to set your fork down and chew in between bites. It was her guidance that showed me how to use a friggin' knife and fork. I'm not even kidding. I would use my fork to cut everything. I wouldn't use a friggin' knife. And friggin'. I'm trying my best to try to keep this clean for you. But she taught me how to use a knife and friggin' fork. And that slowed me down. It made me more mindful of my bites. My God, I needed to relearn how to eat. So it's like it wasn't like what to eat. I knew what to eat, but I wasn't going to do it because I didn't really necessarily understood why I was eating in the first place. I was eating to avoid pain. I was eating to numb, not to nourish. So that was the whole issue. So you don't need someone to punish you into change. You need someone to mirror the truth with love. And that's what I offer as your coach. So, okay. Understanding what the missing piece was. The missing piece was the metabolic health. That part was gone. I found it because I wasn't just emotionally stuck. I was metabolically confused. Metabolically meaning the food that I'm taking in, how can I convert that food into energy for my life, for my body's processes, for my thoughts, for all of everything. It's for your life. It's your metabolism. You need to have that. So I got myself in a job in this position to where I'm helping people through type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes and healthy weight, helping people to healthy weight. So I've learned a lot about blood sugar and how it controls cravings, how it controls stress and your sleep. And there's so many amazing tools out there right now that I use with my clients to help get your blood sugar and your insulin in the right orders to where you do lose weight. So learning about that, I learned to control my cravings. And then I started to rethink of what food meant to me and how my mood was affected with food and what hunger really meant. It wasn't a hunger to stop being stressed. It was an actual hunger in my stomach. So I started using a continuous glucose monitor. I started tracking what I was eating each and every day. I needed to track what actually worked for my body and my mind and not just following the trends. That's what I needed to do. I needed to find food that was specific to me and my unique biology, and the CGM helped me out with that. Not to mention other tools, like I have trackers like an Oura Ring or Apple Watch, and you step it on the scale. There's a way to use all of these tools that I know about that I guide people through. So it wasn't until that I had to refocus everything on protein, healthy fats, and non-starchy vegetables. And that's when I finally felt full. I felt satiated because my body was giving my body what I needed, man. I say this with just so much passion, is that when I was vegan for 14 years, I still wanted protein because I still wanted to go to the gym. I was still going to the gym in my later vegan years, but I was taking in so much starch along with it. I made myself pre-diabetic eating a whole foods plant-based diet because I was eating so much tempeh, so much tofu, so many potatoes, so much rice, so many beans. I was making myself insulin resistant. So then I just switched. I said, enough. I'm going to incorporate cheese. I'm going to incorporate fish, and I'm going to start there. And it was like that first bite of cheese after 14 years, my brain exploded. Like so many dopamine receptors went off in my brain. It's like, yes, this is it. This was it. And I've for 4 months, over 4 months now, I've been eating steak. I've been back on eating chicken. I'm back on an animal-based diet. I feel amazing. I'm clear. My diet's dialed. I've not been in better shape. I'm at a weight now, at a healthy weight now that I've not weighed since high school, like a junior in high school. So no more constant hunger, no more mental fog. I have more clarity. So if your body feels out of control, it's not your fault. When we work together, we got to bring in real tools and not just pep talks. And these tools are going to help you feel powerful again. Okay. So why did I stay fat for so long? And again, I say that again with all the respect I have for myself at that time. Look, dude, okay. I stayed fat because I was afraid. I was afraid to feel. I was afraid to be seen, and I was afraid to change. I mean, it was that simple. I I can't I can't tell you enough how much I needed to keep eating. And the thought of taking away food from me was too painful because you were taking my ability to cope with my massive amount of stress when I was young and I've carried my entire life. So it wasn't that I was lazy, I was just emotionally overwhelmed. And I needed to tap into that and understand. I needed to slow down and see what is this doing for me? But I stayed fat because I just couldn't stop eating. I hid behind the diet. I hid behind veganism instead of confronting my story. And this isn't just a dig on veganism, too. By the way, if you're vegan, go for it. I appreciate you. But it's not for me. It's just not. I need to feed me what I need in order to live my healthiest life. I know that now. But I was really hiding behind the diet rather than confronting my story. And this is why I'm here now, to be completely upfront and honest with you about my story. So every attempt to fix my body without addressing my prior programming just made the weight return. That's what I would lose weight, I would gain it, lose weight, gain, up and down, the yo-yo dieting. I want to try this, I want to try that. You just get confused and lost. I was up and down throughout those 14 years of being vegan. The only reason I was vegan was because I was afraid of being fat. And I thought, let's do this. And I was still fat. So, but I'm here to tell you that I learned a lot. Learned a lot about that process. But the real transformation for me, getting out of fat, really began when I stopped trying to escape the fat and really started to listen to it and to really accept myself and appreciate myself and really love myself for who I am, not for what I look like. And that takes a lot of work. That doesn't happen overnight. So this journey really isn't about body perfection. It's about emotional sovereignty. When you work with me, you're going to stop chasing all the hacks and you're going to start rewriting your story on every level. It is a journey and it takes time, and we dive deep. Okay. So we're going to work on building a new story for you. What does that look like? So I've been where you are. That's what this is about. I'm here to let you know I've been where you are and I do know the way out because I've been through it. And not because, again, not because I'm perfect, it's because I've done the deep work and I'm here to walk beside you. And I've tried it all the biohacks. I've done the cold plunging because I heard it reduces your brown fat, and I've done the intermittent fasting because I thought that's what you need to do. I did the one meal a day because I thought, well, then I'm not eating, then I'm gonna get skinnier and I'm gonna be burning all this fat. But I found myself when I have that one meal a day, it would be 5 to 6 thousand calories, and then I wouldn't move as much because I had no energy throughout the entire day. I've tried the protein powders, the AG1, the mud water, being on coffee, being off coffee, doing coffee enemas. I'll tell you about that one. Have any of you ever had an espresso before? The gadgets. I got one of those little things that a long time ago where it would shock you and your abs would like flex. I got those. I did one of those for a while too. It just made my skin burn. That was about it. But I still had a gut. I did all of those things. I can go on and on about all the shit that I tried, but I still felt stuck. But I just want you to know that all of this really isn't your fault. It's just a pattern that I'm going to help you realize, and we're going to get curious about, and we're going to have compassion for. I'm going to help you build strength, emotional like resilience, your ability to go through a tough situation, your ability to look at yourself in the mirror and go, I have some adjustments to make, but I still feel good about me. That's what that would look like. I'm going to give you metabolic clarity, meaning you know why you're eating this food to fuel you, and the food tastes amazing. It tastes very good. Okay. Imagine eating food that you love to eat and you're still losing weight and you're still gaining strength and you're feeling light inside of your body. And then that's such an amazing thing to have as you age, to keep building muscle and to keep feeling like you are healthy. You can get down on the ground and you can stand back up. You can jump in the air. You can move your body in all directions. You can climb hills. You have all this energy in the world, rather than coming home after a long day of work to where all you have is enough energy to plop on the couch. Imagine coming home from work and throwing on your hiking boots and going out in the hills and chasing a sunset. What would you do with that type of energy? You need the energy to live the life that you want to live. Don't tell me that you're cool with just Netflixing and chilling the rest of your life. If that's you, fine. That's we're not going to work together. That's fine. This is for the precious few, the few that are out there wanting to be self-led, wanting to make their own decisions and live their healthiest life because they got life left to live. They're tired of being, you want to follow that curiosity. What does the top of the mountain look like for you? Are you done? Are you completely done? Is this as good as you can get? Or is there more for you? If you're curious on what's more for you, I'm going to walk with you because I'm curious as well. What are we capable of as men as we age? Do we get, I'm old and I'm just going to be decrepit and be over here and die off and no one will pay attention to me? Oh, boo hoo. We need to stop that while still having a little compassion for ourselves. Turn that and go back, reverse course and go back up the hill. Let's find your trail and start walking up the hill because, again, your transformation, your change in the world isn't a downhill slide. You're not just going to coast into health. You're just not. It's an uphill climb and it's rocky, but you need a Sherpa, and that's me. Because imagine what it looks like from the top. The view is amazing. Okay. So let's get you here. I'm going to show you this. Oh, that's already on here. My website. You go to my website and you go to a free design session. This is a free session for you to help. I want to understand what pains you're going through. I want to understand what you want. I'm not even going to even market like my services to you. I just want to see who is out there that wants a call with someone, a professional that geeks out about this stuff, that is interested in you and interested in taking you beyond what you thought was possible. I want to learn what's getting you stuck so I can then use that language for other people. It is absolutely free to you. Go to my website, spencermark.co, and you go to the apply section and we talk. I'll give you 30 minutes and we're going to design a plan for you because I want to know what you want to do. I want to thank you so much for being here with me and to listening to these rants. But I work to help men change, to make those changes stick. I'm here to help you craft your life into a work of art. Thank you again for being here.